Today we're going to build a Pi1541, which is a 1541 disk drive replacement which works with a Raspberry Pi 3A or 3B or 3. And I have a kit, not like Michael Jackson like components, and we have to assemble it. So let's do this, then prepare the software for the Pi and get it to work, I hope. Let's do this. Before I start to assemble this board, let me show you which components are on here. So I had stuff filmed before that showed this thing in components, and I would show you the components one after the other, but unfortunately this footage is lost, so we are going to see all the stuff on the finished board. Here are some push buttons to switch between the disks and load the disks. Here's a reset switch for the drive. Here's a piezo buzzer if you want the sound. You have the two connectors. This one goes to the C64 with a standard 6-pin serial cable. Here you can attach printers and more drives. If you have this populated, which is the 7406, mine was dead, so I had to use the so-called variant A. You can assemble this board into variants, the first one being without the 7406 and the second with the 7406. I will go into detail in a minute. And you have some resistors, some LEDs, and here are some surface mount components which are already on the board. Didn't do that. You have a connector here which connects to this display, and you can use this display to see the current disk image that is loaded and navigate through the directory, stuff like that. And on the back side you also have to do some stuff. Here are the 7406 and simple method. So variant A would be the simple method, which I have now activated by bridging the solder pads. And you will see in a minute that while I built this, I actually used the 7406. But as I said, mine was dead and I have no replacement right now. So also no working replacement. So I used that variant and that works fine. Only difference is you can't use a second drive or printer because this handles some of the voltage regulation or voltage conversion and keeps the C64 from getting over voltages and the Pi too. And you have to configure your display. Mine uses 3.3 volts, and if you're using the simple method, you only can go with bus number 0, so I had to switch these also. In the build process I used one, and you have to configure which way your pins are here, and mine is ground VCC, so you have the ground VCC or VCC ground. I have ground VCC enabled. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That then plugs like a hat on top of the Pi. Let me quickly do this. And you plug your serial cable in and some power, and off you go. Okay, I'm all set. Soldering iron is fired up, and I think we start with the socket, and then we will just go and solder this. Make sure you put the notch on the right side, or on the left side in this case. Yeah, let's do this. And I prefer to solder vertically because you can reach the solder points better than soldering horizontally, but that is just my preference. And I'm using this flat tip, which I also prefer. And then make sure that you heat the pad a little so that the solder can really flow into the pad. Okay, first side is done. Go to the second one. Should use some ventilation here, but it's such a small project. I think we are done in a few minutes. Okay, that's in. Nice. As you can see, this has come out pretty nicely. Okay, next up we go, and it's pretty much, you can decide how you want to do this. You can do the smallest components first, which most people do. I don't have a specific order. We have two LEDs, which I will put in next. So the red one goes on top, and the shorter leg of the LED goes into the square piece here, or the square hole. And put it in like this, bend the legs out, and do the same for the green one. Small leg goes up like this. And then we go and solder it in. You can buy this kit pre-assembled, but I think it's half the fun assembling it. Next we put in these DIN connectors, these 6-pin DIN connectors. You could use just one to connect to the C64 and leave the second one blank if you don't have two of them. But since I do have two, I will use them. I will use some electrical tape to keep them in place while soldering. Like this. Okay, we have that. Then we go on, do the buttons next, which go in here. And we have 5 of these angled buttons and one that just sits here, which is a reset switch. Sure that you push down good, because these come out easily. Nice. So next we have this one, which is just a reset switch for the disk drive, which goes here. Just push this in. Okay, that button is in too. Okay, next we have these two connectors, which go up here for the speaker enable and the external speaker. And the internal speaker will be this piezo buzzer. So we have these. We have this big connector which goes here, which connects to the GPIO on the GPIO pins on the Pi, and that needs to be completely straight, because else you will have real trouble. And I can already see my mistake. Should have soldered this in first, because now there's this in the way. So if you do this, solder this connector first. No bridges. Oh, nice. Looks good. Okay, I can see that is could get into a little issue here, because there's almost no clearance. So I guess this should have been without a socket, but I don't really care. So I think that goes here, and then this goes in here. That makes sense. Okay, you can see that working. So let's put this in here. Okay, that's in. Nice. You can see he has printed power SCL SDA, and we have ground VCC SCL SDA like this. So if we plug it in like this, all is good. Okay, that's in too. Now we just have the resistors and the piezo buzzer and the bridging to do on the back side. So I'm not quite sure what voltages this takes, and we have to adjust that on the back side here. And we also have to tell it up here. So we have to do bridges up here. There are 3 solder points, and the bottom 2 are for the simple version, and the upper 2 bridged are for the 7406, and we will do the 7406, so we have to bridge these. So these are now bridged, you can see. Just put some solder on down here. That's not a problem because it's not used and not bridged, so all is good. Okay, so we told this device to use this one, so we can put this in here. Quickly bend the legs a little. Make sure to put the notch where it belongs, on the left side in this case. Now we have the resistors left, and it's actually printed on here. This is a 220 ohm and this is a 1K resistor. So right now I don't know which one is which because I can't say from the top of my head which color is which. So we use the multimeter, put it onto the ohm symbol and on 2K. And then we just go and put the probes down here. And you can see this is a 220. And then this should be the 1K. Let's check. It just says 999, which is pretty close to 1. So the 220s go up here, R1 and R2. They have no polarity, so we can put them in just the way you like. Make sure to pre-bend the legs. Now let's put in the 1Ks. And these go to R3 and R4. Resistors are in. So now we have a little problem because we have this piezo speaker buzzer, but we have a plus here, but we have no polarity on the board. And I have no idea which way this goes. It seems like this is a plus, but I'm not quite sure if it is. So I guess here goes nothing, and we just put it in like this. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that it doesn't make a sound, which in case of a buzzer is not the worst thing that can happen. Okay, so I decided that that plus should face to the right. Make sure to take this off because it doesn't buzz anywhere else. And that leaves us with this screen. So after some soul searching and Googling, I decided that the screen has to go like this. So plug is here and it plugs in like this. And I think I will go with the 3.3 volts first to check if that works. And if it doesn't work, then I will switch up to 5 volts. And we will have to solder these 2 points and these 2 points. So we have to bridge these so that we get the ground VCC, because that is what is printed here, ground VCC, versus the other way around, VCC ground, which we don't have. So the screen only goes this way, and you have to check if you have ground VCC or VCC ground, and accordingly solder these points. We will do the bottom 3 for 3.3 volts, and we will go with, I guess, I have to check what bus is exactly. Yeah, that looks good. Only these two are bridged, so this is correct. We have 3.3 volts, and now we have to do the bus select thing. So I'm going to use bus number 1 because I can. If you don't use this as a bus driver, you only can select bus 0, but I have both versions, so I'm going to use bus 1. I'm not quite sure what that means, but that is recommended, so I will do. So bus 1, 3.3 volts, and the correct settings. And this is speaker enabled, so I guess we have to put a jumper on here to make that work. And here is the final part, the jumper. And that is it. Would be nice to have a case, so I may 3D print a case for that. But for now, this is good. Nice. Now we have to set up the software and connect it to the Pi and see if it works. Okay, so in order to get an SD card prepared for the Pi1541, you have to download some files from Steve White's website, and you'll find all the direct links to these files in the description of this video. So here are the instructions for the setup. You have to format an SD card at FAT32. Let's quickly do this. I have an SD card right here, which already has the stuff on here. I will just delete that. And you go to Format, FAT32. You select Standard, and we call this Pi1541. And you do Quick Format, say Start, and Fire. And that is that. Then you have to download the Raspberry Pi firmware, which I already did. And you have to unzip that and copy 3 files, bootcode.bin, fixup.dat and start.elf into the root folder of the SD card. Let's quickly do this. So I have a folder here which has all the files, and this is the firmware, which we quickly unzip, and there's a folder inside here. And in the boot folder of that, we go and copy start.elf, fixup, and bootcode.bin, I guess it was. Take these and just pull them on your SD card. So that should look like that. Then you have to unzip the supplied zip file, which you downloaded here, which I already have downloaded in my Pi1541 folder, which is here. And inside you find a Pi1541 folder. You have to go into this folder and copy all the stuff that's in here again to the root folder of your SD card. And so I will actually go, and we have the config.txt, which is not to be touched, and the options.txt, which we will open. And we will go in here, and here you can change the device number -8, which is the default for all Commodore disk drives, so we leave it at 8. If you are using the 7406 version, you have to uncomment this right here. You have to go and sometimes uncomment this if you are using the 7406. Doesn't seem to be always the case, so you don't have to do any ROM files here. We will put the ROM files in there in a minute in the directory. And you will have, if you want to activate the 1581, to uncomment this right here, because we have a ROM file which is called exactly that here from zimmers.net. You can activate the sound if you want to use the buzzer, which I don't intend to right now. And if you have an LCD, you have to activate it down here. Mine is this one here. And you can check which logo you want to show, which is a little image of the 1541. I choose to see the classic. You can change the buttons here if you want, but I keep mine just the way they are. Yeah, you can go here and you can auto mount the image of the FB64, but you have to provide it in the /1541 folder. So that would then bring up the file browser, and you can, you always, if you switch on the C64, have the disk with the file browser in, and you can just type load FB64 and it will load up the file browser, and you can select the disk images from there. But since you have buttons and a screen on the device itself, the Pi1541, there's really no need to use this, so I will not auto mount this and leave that blank. So we save this with Control S, and now what's missing are the ROM files for the drives. So we have one ROM file, which is the D15412. The link is in the description. You have to name it like that, so that the Pi1541 can find a valid Commodore ROM file to actually use the 1541. And if you want to use the Pi1541 as an 1581, you also have to provide this ROM file, which you just copy over here. One last thing is, if you want to see the files on the disk via HDMI on the Pi, you have to also copy the character ROM from the C64, which is called chargen, or has to be called chargen. And yeah, that's it. So now we have a ready-made SD card, and let's go put it in the Pi and fire it up. After I made this SD card, it didn't work, and I was pretty bummed, and it took me 3 hours to actually realize that the fault was always in front of me. You have seen that previously. I showed you the right way to do it, not the wrong way. So when the SD card worked, it actually booted correctly. I didn't get only the rainbow. I plugged in the HDMI into the Pi, and I could see that actually the program was loaded and the machine was working, but it wouldn't load. I could try to load the directory, but it would be stuck on searching. And that took me another 2 hours. I tried everything, did all the solder work again, all that stuff. Even tried to switch out the 74 LS06 because I thought that might have been bad, and I'm still not convinced that it's good. Could be that all my 06s are bad, which is the chip that sits here. And you see, it's right now it's not populated. So I removed that, and I went and changed all the soldering up here, which was for the 7406, and turned that to simple. And lo and behold, it worked. Just the screen wouldn't turn on, so I had to also go and put everything up here on channel 0 so that the screen will turn on. And now it works flawlessly. Only thing is, you can't connect another device here because the voltages will mess up and you could kill your C64, but I don't plan to put another device on here. So all is good and well. Pretty happy with this. Yeah, let's take a look at it. And I have my Raspberry Pi 3 B Plus right here. I took that out of my Tower Amiga. This was used for the Pi Storm, and I don't have any other Raspberry Pi 3 B Plus around right now, so I did order one. Had to take off this port relocator which I used for the Pi Storm so that it would fit on the 3 B Plus. You need a serial cable to connect it to the C64, and you need power, which I have here. And make sure that you have enough power. I have, I guess, a 3 amp. So the 3 amp. No, it's a 6 amp actually. A 6 amp power supply from Amazon. I guess I paid $8 or so that you can power all the stuff here. I did put some games on here, Boulder Dash and some other stuff. So let's switch on the TV and take a look. By the way, if you haven't seen this C64, I made a video how I created this with my son. So let's start this up, and if you plug it in, you only see a little blinking light on the side here, and the screen lights up. You can see it shows the files that are on there, and you can navigate using these buttons. And while you do this, let me show you the screen. This is what you see when you connect the Pi via HDMI to the TV. So you pretty much see the same here. If I navigate using these buttons, this goes up and down, and let's select Boulder Dash, and we click this button to actually select that. And now you can see the activity of the drive. So if I switch the C64 on, you can see it resets the drive back to the start. And if I select Boulder Dash again, So now it's active. The disk, it's like inserting a disk. And now you can access this from the C64. I will type this without seeing the C64 screen. I will do a directory, and you can see that it flashes and loads the directory. And if I say load star, 8, 1, you can see that it goes into activity mode, and now it's loading the file. So this is the side you see if you plug in the HDMI from the Raspberry Pi. You don't need that. You can do all the stuff with a little display here. So this is just for testing. But it's quite interesting to see. You can actually see the real C64 stuff up here. For this part you need that character ROM. You can see which device it's on and which ROM is used. And yeah, let's check out maybe an 1581 file. And did load the Sonic D81 file on here. Let's try if we can actually mount that. And that looks good. Device number 8, and he took the right ROM file. So now we are in 1581 mode, which is quite cool. Okay, so let's switch over to the C64. And I don't have an REU, but maybe we can still load the directory. And yes, we can. There we go. But let's try what it says if we try to without the RAM expansion unit. By the way, I'm planning to build a RAM expansion unit, so if you are into that, that will be one of the next videos. Oh, okay, that actually worked. Let's run this. No REU found. Sonic needs at least 256K. Okay, so out of luck here, but that works. So the Pi1541, quite nice. So now I have an 1581 actually, and since it's cycle accurate, that means that you can use all kinds of fast loaders and stuff like that. So maybe as some last test, let's plug in the Easy Flash and try it with some fast loaders. Okay, plugged in the Easy Flash. We have still to mount a disk again. You can configure this to always load the FB64 file browser. I didn't do that. Let's try Xloader. Let me quickly check. Yeah, definitely is a fast loader. That was really fast. Wow, that was lightning fast. Nice. So at least this fast loader works. If I would load Boulder Dash the conventional way, this would have taken minutes. Nice. Okay, so 1541, Pi 1541. I paid $20 for this as a kit. Yeah, seems to work quite nicely. And if you have a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus or 3 or A, then you're good to go. And it's fun to build. It takes about 45 minutes or so if you are not filming. And yeah, pretty happy with this. So thanks for watching, and until next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Retro is the New Black. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you like the video, please share. Every like, share, and comment helps a lot. Until next time, bye-bye.